Hey everybody, this is Josh from the Houston chapter of the Extra Pint Crokinole Club. In my last video, we went over the NCAA restructuring and the ups and downs of the scoring system they're going to implement. In particular, I was critical of the linear point scale they were using and how it can be particularly unfair to those who are not in the elite of the NCAA. I advocated for a weighted point system, much like the one they use in golf, where the number of points awarded in a tournament are based on the skill levels of players in that tournament. Well, I'll be putting my money where my mouth is, and I'll be implementing just such a system that will run in parallel to the NCAA season. We'll be applying this weighted point scale not just to sanctioned NCAA tournaments, but to any tournament in the US and possibly the UK that wishes to participate that meets basic criteria. We're going to call the framework for this system the North Atlantic Crokinole Organization, and it doesn't even require that you donate 2% of your club's budget. So this is how it's going to work. Instead of tiering tournaments, we're going to be tiering players. Players will be assigned a tier based on their highest level of achievement in competitive crokinole within the past 24 calendar months, with the exception being World Crokinole Championship winners who will retain their rank for 5 years. The 10 tiers are as follows. Tier S is the highest tier, that is your World Crokinole Championship winners. The only way to achieve this tier is to win the World Crokinole Championships in Tavistock. Theoretically, there can only be a maximum of 5 of these people at any given time. The next level is Tier A. These are players who have won an NCAA tournament or have beaten 2 such players in a head-to-head match within the last 2 years. Just to be clear, when we're talking about a head-to-head match, we're talking about an elimination match in the confines of a tournament and not a round-robin match. The next level will be Tier B. Those are players who finished among the top 25% of competitors in the NCAA tournament. This is not necessarily Tier A, it's the top 25%. So if there were 20 people in the tournament, you'd have to have finished within the top 5. If there's 100 people in the tournament, then you need to finish in the top 25 to achieve Tier B. Tier C consists of players who have finished among the top 50% of competitors in an NCAA tournament, and Tier D will consist of players who have finished in the top 75% in an NCAA tournament. And again, just to be clear, when we're talking about an NCAA tournament, we're talking about a Tier 1 NCAA tournament as they stand presently. The whole point of this is to measure your skill level against a common denominator, that common denominator being the cadre of players that make up the NCAA presently. The NCAA Rec Division or your club's tournament, if it's Tier 2, 3, or even Tier 1, will be referred to as a non-NCAA tournament for the purposes of this system. Tier E will consist of players who have won a non-NCAA tournament. Tier F will consist of players who have finished among the top 25% of competitors in a non-NCAA tournament. There are 2 ways to achieve Tier G. First off, you have to finish among the top 50% of competitors in a non-NCAA tournament, or have finished in the bottom 25% of an NCAA tournament. The reason for this is that it's not possible to measure a player's skill level by measuring who they've lost to, only by who they've beaten. And as it turns out, players who have only finished between 50 and 26% in the rec division who've gone up to compete in the competitive division will typically finish in the bottom 25%. So it's a wash. Tier H will consist of players whose highest achievement was to finish in the top 75% of competitors at a non-NCAA tournament, and Tier I are going to be new players or players who have yet to break out of the bottom 25% of their non-NCAA tournament. These tiers are then assigned skill points on a non-linear scale. Tier S being the highest will be awarded 100 points, Tier A 70, B 45, C 25, D 15, E 10, F 7, G 4, H 2, and 1 point for someone at Tier I. So if you're in a club that's held a tournament before, make a list of everyone that's played within the last 2 years. For example, here's a list of the Extra Pint Dallas and Houston clubs. You'll notice the player name, their tier, the tournament they achieved that tier in, and the year and month of that achievement. Then apply this list to the recent Texas State Championship that took place back in May. We had 15 participants. I've listed them along with their tier and their skill points. The sum of the skill points will be the tournament's field rating. In this case, it's 77. What you see here are the final standings of that tournament that took place back in May. The winner of the tournament will receive points equivalent to 25% of the total field rating. In this case, that's 19.25. Second place receives 15%, and third place receives 10%. The rest of the players will receive points on a nonlinear scale in such a manner that the total points awarded will add up to the total field rating. What you see here is the formula that will award the fourth place player 90% of the points of the player that finished above him. I then use the spreadsheet's autofill function to repeat that formula all the way down to the last place player. When I highlight all the awarded tour points, you'll see in the bottom right hand corner the sum comes out to 88 and change. That's too high, we have to change the modifier. I adjust the modifier to the fourth decimal place so that the total points awarded are as close as possible to the tournament's field rating without going under. Your top 5 point totals for the year will count toward your tour ranking, just like in the NCA. After the tournament's over, we'll go back to our club roster and make the tier adjustments. Anyone who achieved a higher tier or matched their previous tier will have their achievement tournament and date adjusted. So if you have a tournament coming up soon, specifically you guys in Kansas City and in Denver, I'm going to need a tier list to properly rank your tournament's field rating. So I'll be in touch with you guys soon. As for the NCA, I've got them pretty much taken care of. Crokinole reference, and it's the NCA site itself does a really good job of record keeping. I managed to record every player that's played in the NCA over the last 2 years and tiered them appropriately. So I'll be able to follow the whole NCA season, starting with the World Championships that just took place. When the totals come out for that, the final tally, I'll be able to actually run that and post that as well. It's all going to be posted to this site. So if you want to participate, all I need from you is your tier list from your club, but specifically for the tournament you want included. We can even go back and do it after the fact. So your obligation on this is going to be minimum. I'm going to be doing all the work, running all the numbers. I just need to know what the numbers are. Again, all the results are going to be posted to extrapintcrokinole.com under the NACO tab, the NACO tab. If anybody notices any issues throughout the year or things that can be improved or adjusted, keep those in mind. We'll have a meeting at some point through Discord or Zoom, and we can work all that out for next season. So for this year, again, it's just a trial run, just a proof of concept. If people like it, we'll continue it. If not, we'll stick to the NCA plan. Yeah, and full details on this are on the Extra Pint website under the NACO tab. Thanks for listening, happy flicking, and cheers. See you guys later.